How do you know it's time to stop renting and purchase your very first home? Listen, buying a home is one of the largest investments that most people in the world will ever make. And it's also an emotional one. In this particular episode, we're going to delve right in and talk about the power of home ownership. Let's get started. Welcome to Work It, Live It, Own It, a show that explores how to upgrade your lifestyle through life lessons, real estate, and entrepreneurship. Here's your hostess, SaCola Lehr. So, if you've been renting and thinking about buying a home for a while, you know that the benefits to owning a home goes far beyond having something to call your own. Well, what do I mean by that? Typically, it's one of the safest investments that a person can make. And there are also other several benefits to home ownership as well. So if you're feeling financially secure, and notice I said financially secure, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later in this episode, then now's the time to act. There's no need to wait. So first, let's talk about renting versus owning. If you're a current renter, or you've even just purchased your very first home, then you already know what I'm talking about. You know this feeling, right? In at least 50 cities, according to Yahoo Finance, in at least 50 cities in the United States and Canada, it's cheaper to buy than rent. Wow, let that sink in for a minute, because let's take a look at what happens when people rent instead of own. Well, first of all, you're paying a landlord their mortgage payment, you're paying their property taxes, and ultimately you're making them richer. Your monthly payments are subject to change. They're subject to increase year after year. I remember when my husband and I were going to one apartment complex and we were looking at renting. They told us, hey, when the market value goes up, so will your rent. But, right now we haven't had to go up. So now's the time to rent. Why would you want to be subject to something that is beyond your control when you can control it? A lot of times there are things that are out of our control, but home ownership is within our control. But rent payments, they're definitely not. So you're at the mercy of the market, and depending on how the market rates are, whether your rent is going to increase. And then you're having to sit there and anticipate, well, how much is my rent going to go up this year? Constant payments. Renting, those payments will never ever go away. The space belongs to someone else. You can't fix it up. You're at the mercy of the landlord to make updates and even make changes to your rental property. But now, with owning your own place, whatever that looks like, but let's just close your eyes for a minute and just imagine owning your own place. We're not just talking about having a space of your own. We're talking about increasing your own wealth. You're talking about payments, especially if you're using a fixed rate mortgage loan. Your payments are constant, they're consistent, they are not subject to increase. You have an option, especially if you have a loan that doesn't have prepayment penalties. Can you imagine being able to pay that off earlier than the 30 or 20 or even 15-year term of that loan? You have control over that. You have a space that you can customize, that's your own. You can design it however you want, particularly within reason. If you're living in a community with an HOA and they say, hey, you can't paint your front door pink, well then guess what? You can't paint your front door pink. But ultimately, guys, you are your own landlord. The monthly payments that you're making, the property taxes that you're paying, guess what? That's yours. You're not paying someone else's payments. You're paying your own payments. So listen, according to the National Association of Realtors, 75% of non-home owners in the United States consider buying a home to be part of their American dream, a dream that they eventually plan on making a reality. So now let's talk about home ownership in your dreams. Because I had you to close your eyes. And if you're driving, I pray and hope that you didn't close your eyes, okay? So if you're listening to this podcast right now and you happen to be on the road, please don't close your eyes. But let's just think about this, how home ownership provides a place to call your own. It creates a sense of security and belonging in a community, knowing that you have a piece of the neighborhood that's all your own. And or if you just envision yourself having blue skies and green grass and no neighbors around you, you just want acres of land, maybe a pond with some fish to go fishing in. It's yours. Well, technically it will all be yours once it's paid off. But it's yours. You're making those payments. You're responsible for that. But most importantly, guys, it is a reminder of your achievements. Every time you put the key in the door and you unlock that door, you're walking into something that reminds you of all of your effort, your hard work that went into obtaining that home in the first place. You achieved that goal. And not only that, you've probably set an example. You have probably become an inspiration to others. You've probably motivated others to take that step. I know that's what happened for my husband and I. We saw a couple who were a few years younger than us take that first journey, take that first step into home ownership. And you know what? They relayed their experience to us with so much excitement, so much enthusiasm, guys. The next step and next conversation that my husband and I had was, hey, are we ready to buy our first home? And if you haven't heard my real estate story about how I got into the journey of home ownership and how I became a realtor, I suggest you check that episode out. So now that we've gotten you all excited and ramped up with your dreams ready to go, what about your wealth? Let's talk about your mindset and your wealth. Because there are a lot of financial benefits to home ownership. Now, the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances between 2013 and 2016, they stated that there are financial benefits to home ownership, and you probably have heard about these from time to time from coworkers, from your parents, from your family members. But you get to grow your own personal fortune. What do I mean by that? Well, they say that the average homeowner has 44 times the net worth of a renter. That means owning your own home boosts your own worth and lets you accumulate more wealth over time. Well, what does that look like? Well, one way is by getting more tax benefits. Now, in most cases, not all cases, you can write off your mortgage interest and property taxes. So standardized deductions change from year to year. And I would strongly advise you to talk to your accountant on how you can write off your mortgage interest and property taxes. Okay? The next step is securing an investment that isn't going anywhere. So as long as your home is still standing, as long as you're fixing it up, maintaining it, keeping it in good condition, if not better condition than when you bought it, you can rent that home out and earn income property. You can resell it and get the equity from the home that you have accumulated. The bottom line is this, guys. Real estate values tend to increase the longer you have it. The longer you own it, it will increase in value. Just make sure that you take care of it. And let's just be honest, it's a lot less volatile than the stock investments that many people make. Now, if you're one of those that make stock investments, great. Then that means you're adding more to your wealth, right? But real estate is one of the safest investments that you can make long term. But what about not just you, but the world around you? How does home ownership impact the world around you? Nothing does that like home ownership. You know why? Because it creates stronger families. When you have a home base that provides emotional stability for your family, there is nothing more joyous than that. Knowing that you have a stable place to come home to, that your kids can come home to, if you're living in a multi-family or multi-generational home, that your family can come to relax, to unwind at the end of the day. If you have kids, if you're thinking about having kids, statistics show from the Joint Center of Housing Studies of Harvard University and even the National Association of Home Builders, kids that are raised in a home that is owned by the family, they're more successful when it comes to math and reading, and are known to have fewer behavioral problems. But more importantly, what about the strong sense of community? When you are a homeowner, you have a stronger sense of community. People who own homes tend to be more active in their community. You know why? Because they want to take care of it. They want to make sure that neighborhood looks good. They want to make sure that they are in a supportive, safe, and beautiful environment. So overall, home ownership is a smart decision. Now, the home ownership, just to recap, it affects your dreams, your wealth, your family life, and investing in a home ultimately is a smart decision if you're looking to increase your net worth. But let's talk about some questions that I want you to ask yourself. And if you're somewhere where you can write these down, write these questions down. I'm going to put them in the show notes also too, so you can see them and ask yourself this at a later time. So question 1, are you ready to stop renting and buying a home? If you said yes, next question I want you to ask yourself is, am I ready to put down roots? Am I ready to live in one place for at least the next 5 to 7 years? On average, most people live in a home from 5 to 7 years, sometimes up to 10, sometimes a little bit longer. But ask yourself, have you found a place where you're ready to put down roots for a while? Next question. Do you desire more privacy at home? You know, you're tired of your neighbor playing their loud music at night at the most inconvenient time, or they're having a party and the party is still going on at the late hours at night. Or if you're in an apartment, are you tired of hearing those footsteps stomping up above your head? Hey, I've been there. I can't tell you all the things that you hear in an apartment, and if you're still living in an apartment, you can probably sympathize. Are you content with your job? Do you see yourself being with that line of employment or running your own business for the next few years? Have you been employed with them for a couple of years now? Is my debt income ratio in a healthy place? Have I maxed out my credit cards? Do I have a lot of student loans? Do I have a car note? If so, we might need to take a look and have a conversation about how to become debt free. But ultimately, is there a want, a need, a desire to buy a home? And if so, and you've said yes to all of those things, then I want you to contact me so I can help you get started on your home ownership journey. Now listen, I am a North Carolina licensed realtor, but I am connected with agents nationwide. So if you're looking to buy a home in a specific place or a particular neighborhood or place, I can reach out to some wonderful realtors who will take good care of you. And I will make sure that they do take good care of you, because if they don't, and you contact me and let me know, I won't need to work with them anymore. Okay. But please reach out to me if you're ready to start your home ownership journey. I'll be here to support you every step of the way, and I will be cheering you on when you reach your goal. Well, that's it for this episode. Make sure that you continue to work it, live it, own it in your everyday life. Take care, guys.